everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are talking about indie rom-coms. This is fun in honor of Sundance Film Festival, which when this airs, I will be I will be attending. So it's going to be a lot of fun. A chance to watch a lot of interesting, ambitious, creative movies. Creative, that's a good word for it, right?
Yes.
And so we are doing our top 12 favorite indie rom-coms. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Terry's here.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. So what we decided to do for this list is we counted any movie under $20 million. And I worked in inflation and we tried to find budgets as much as we could. And
Yeah.
so it is what it is. We did our best. But this was a challenge. Would you agree?
It's a real good challenge too, because there were some movies I was like, this doesn't count. It's like it just barely made it,
Yeah.
or
Well,
it
and it's
was a
hard.
challenge for
A lot
sure.
of these movies, these indie movies, can be kind of morose and sad. And so,
Right.
is it a romantic comedy? Is it just a
So true. There's a
romance?
lot
Is
of
it
that.
is it just a comedy? What's going on? I don't know.
I
So
cut a
I
few out too because the distributor, they were just like, it was just a big company that ended up distributing them.
yeah.
They weren't like the main ones who made it, but I was like, oh, this got more attention because of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
So,
So it's tricky. It's tricky. We
yeah.
did ask our patrons what they thought, so I'll share that. And if you want to be part of these ranking episodes, make sure to check out the Patreon. We just had an amazing patron watch along with Leanne Lapp watching Mixed Baggage, which is amazing film, in my
And I was
opinion, at
stuck in
least.
traffic. Yeah, I
Oh
missed
man.
it.
But we
Bad
have
weather.
really fun. It's great to be part of the Patreon. Please check it out. And let's dive in. Let's get started. What's your number 12?
I went straight for four weddings and a funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, this stars everybody and then some. It's a British movie. Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell are the main couple we focus on, and the least interesting because that relationship to me is not healthy. Because so
Yeah, I
basically,
agree.
I mean, the whole movie is basically, like I said, four weddings and a funeral. Bunch of group of friends. They meet up at these weddings. They meet important people in their lives. They all get into some kind of romance stuff between, who they meet at the weddings and who
Yeah.
they ended up married. And in the first wedding, like Hugh Grant meets Andy McDowell, and she's American, and he's to the whole movie they kind of make fun of him because he's a terrible boyfriend. He's got so many of these girlfriends that he's like with bad relationships he had, including Anna Chancellor.
Yeah.
And I think, and so the whole movie persists with them. She marries somebody else. Spoilers, this movie's like from 1994. I'm sorry. But they do
Yeah.
end up together at the end. So you are rooting for these two to get together, but these are the most unhealthiest. I think it's the unhealthiest relationship in that movie. I would have loved to seen more with the gay couple, especially because the death, that is such an emotional scene when he's
Yeah. That's the best
oh, and he says his
scene in them.
longtime friend, and that's how you would say it back then. So that it really
Right.
gets you like you couldn't really be 100% open even though
Yeah.
they were out and stuff, like you'd have to say your longtime friend. You couldn't say your partner or anything like that. And that's why it's so low on the list because the main relationship isn't something that I was very interested in, but all the side characters and their
Yeah.
quest is very funny.
Yeah.
I
I have
love
it at
also the
13.
gag. I do love the gag of the first couple we see married. Every wedding and funeral and all events after that, she's pregnant each time she has a new baby.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I have it at 13. It was
Right. Yeah, it's
close
very
for me.
close. Yeah.
For the same reasons it just missed.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy it. And I think that Richard Curtis is underrated for how he writes friendship. Everybody
Totally.
knows about
Yeah.
all of the romances that he writes, but he also was really good. Like one of my favorite scenes in movies, period, is in Notting Hill when they're sitting around for his sister's birthday and just talking. I think that is so authentic,
That's the
and
best part. Yeah.
it is such a
Yeah.
good scene. and just fighting over who gets the brownie, and just stuff like that. Like that's real to me.
That's what I find so much more interesting in Notting Hill
Yeah.
than the relationship with like Julia Roberts and stuff, like the friends aspect and how
Yeah.
they go out of the way to help them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my number 12, it's Sliding Doors is my number
Mm-hmm.
12. And I do think this is a little underrated. I mean, it is a gimmick, of having the two different lives. And I definitely for sure think that short-haired Gwyneth is way better than long-haired Gwyneth as far as the story. And Jean Triplehorn is so annoying in the
Yeah.
movie. She's a lot. So but I still think the main relationship between short-haired Gwyneth and John Hannah is really, really cute. And the
Right.
overall, I just like it. I think the whole concept is fun. And I guess I buy into the gimmick. And
It's been forever since I've seen that one.
yeah, and we did do a whole episode on friendship on
Mhm.
this movie. So
Yeah.
there's a whole episode of the podcast on it.
It's the height of Gwyneth Paltrow, really.
Yeah, it really
Height.
is. This
Yeah.
it was the same year, I think, that she won the Oscar, or right. I think
I'm
when
not
Shakespeare
sure.
in Love.
I do remember being incredibly annoyed by this movie, but I haven't seen it then since. No, because the older
Fair
you
enough.
get, the older you get, you change certain views sometimes on movies. So
Yeah. Same year as Shakespeare in Love,
yeah,
1988.
another movie that annoyed me. Maybe it's just Gwyneth. I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like a lot of the annoyed about Gwyneth came after with the Goop and everything, but
Oh, for sure, yeah.
yeah. But I enjoy this one, but
Yeah.
But I get it. Like I said, long-haired Gwyneth's story is pretty insufferable. So what are you gonna do? All right, what do you have at 11?
A movie that I don't really like that much, but I mean, it has made an impact, and it's Juno.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I didn't
There
think
are
this would make
parts
your
that
list. I'm surprised.
yeah, I know. There are parts of this movie that I do enjoy, but I don't like Juno herself. And I think some of the dialogue, it just screams of like, I'm an adult woman who's maybe aged out and honest to blog, like I'm going to be cute with that annoyed me, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
There were certain things in this movie that didn't work, like the whole Jason Bateman and her, I'm sorry, Elliot Page, who was, back then.
Right.
And that whole relationship was weird to me, but I get it. And this is really a cute coming of age movie, and there is a sweet romance with the teenagers, and I just like how it's a positive adoption story too, to go forward, and life isn't ruined. It's going to be okay for everybody involved.
Yeah.
It just made my list because
I love this movie, and
Yeah.
I totally get why its style and its approach and the banter. I get it why it's not for everybody. But I do love it. I think it's so quotable and so funny. And I actually think particularly the character arc that they give for Jennifer Garner's character is
great.
really outstanding. If it was up to me, I would have, nominated her for all the supporting awards, because I just think she does a great job. And you go from thinking, oh, this person is such a bore, to being like, I love this human, at least for me. And and it kind of the opposite happens with the Jason Bateman character. I think that part of it feels really authentic to what this teenager would actually think, though, and kind of think about these two people.
Yeah.
And I just love lines like that you're like the coolest person I know, and you don't have to try. You don't try at all. And he's like, I try really hard, actually. Stuff like that. I don't know. I just
what opposites too between Elliot Page and
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera, like that odd couple. I love J.K. Simmons as the dad.
And Allison Janney. I like to pretend in my alternate reality that they won their Oscars for this movie.
Oh, right. I think it was only Elliot Page.
So much.
Was J.K. Simmons nominated for this? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but
I think it was
I just absolutely, I love the two of them.
Yeah. It was great too that they were supportive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great to see a supportive, like, I've never understood Like, I've got a pregnant teen. You've got to get out of my house. I've never understood that
That's
logic of
crazy.
parenting or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that.
Yeah. And I didn't think you were that kind of girl. I don't know what kind of girl I am. I
Right.
so many good lines. And
Yeah.
I love I can't think of her name, but her best friend, I think is really funny in it.
Yeah.
She's good. Olivia Thirlby, she's really good. It's a favorite. So I have it coming up.
Totally.
In fact, when I did my top 100 films, this was like 2017, something like that. It was number 16. So
Yeah.
I really do love it. Okay. My number 11 is where I have The Big Sick.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
I really enjoy this movie. I think it's really funny. The script is great. The only reason it's 11 is because you don't see them together that much because she's sick for
Right.
most of the movie. And so that's the only kind of reason. But Ray Romano's really good in it. Holly Hunter's good in it. Great. Our two leads are lovely. Kamal Majani's
Totally.
wonderful in it. It's
Very funny.
based on
Yeah.
him and his wife's true story. It's great.
It is. I have this higher on my list.
Mhm.
I was surprised at how much I loved it.
Yeah.
And it just spoke like real truths. And I loved how she
Yeah.
just woke up when she's finally, up and she's told him to kick rocks, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they had broken up by then because he was a crappy boyfriend.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's charming.
it is
And
charming.
yeah. And I think anybody who has like immigrants or can relate to an immigrant story and their
Absolutely, yeah.
family will really love it, especially. Uh all right. So what do you have at 10?
I have 10, a little Canadian film. It's called A Date with Misfortune.
Oh, I haven't
It
heard of
goes all
this.
the way back to 2015. The last couple of days, I've been rewatching a whole bunch of these just to make sure if they deserve my list to get on the list or not. But basically, this movie is kind of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, whereas we have this couple, they get together. She's Portuguese, he's not. And when they get together, it's a big culture shock for him. Her family,
Mm-hmm.
the stuff she does, like when they move in together, her religious stuff everywhere, like, oh, that's a big cross. And when she tells me to shut up when she's praying to the rosary in front of statues. Being, a Portuguese myself, this checked all the boxes. It's 100% true. He has to deal with her superstitions. She goes to see a fortune teller, and she's like, "We've got the evil eye," and she's throwing salt. And my people can be very superstitious. This is true. I love the part where you don't come in through the front door; you got to come in through the back door, which is 1,000% true. Rachel, the last time I used my front door was when you were over. I've never used it since or before. That's if you have two, if you have a dwelling that has two ways to get in, you never take the front. But it's very sweet, and it's also based on the actors. The lead actors wrote the movie, and I believe they're still married, and it's based on their love story.
Huh.
So it's
What's
really
it
a
called again?
culture shock. Yeah.
What's it called
What?
again? What's it
It's
called
A Date
again?
with Misfortune.
Hmm.
It's on some streaming service. I think it's on Tubi, on Peacock.
Yeah, a lot of these. That's one nice thing about these indies is a lot of them are on Tubi.
Oh yeah,
So
you can totally catch them
watch
for
for free.
free.
Yeah.
Watch them with commercials. It's all right.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, so I like it because if you're it's sort of got that big sick vibe because it's
Hmm.
also based on a true story, and it's like My
Hmm.
Big Fat Greek Wedding because it is the culture shock of an
Yeah.
outsider coming in and absolutely just how do these crazy people live? Because
Yeah.
basically that's
Well,
what
and
it's
also
about.
I'd say check Canopy and Hoopla
Oh,
for a lot of
totally,
these
yeah.
as well. As well.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So my number 10 is Where I Have Enough Said.
Oh,
And this is by director Nicole Holfcener. I've loved every single one of her movies that I've seen. This is really lovely. It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She is about to be an empty nester. She's a single divorced woman. She's got this and she is a masseuse, and she has this client who is super chatty and always telling about her terrible ex-husband. And then she meets this man played by James Gandolfini, I think his last role, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
And they hit it off, and then she finds out that this man that she's been seeing is the dreaded ex-husband of the client. And it's super cute, charming, more mature love story, which you don't always see. It's really good.
Yeah, I have yet to see this one. I've got to put it up there.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. So what do you have at 9?
I put See You Next Christmas. I had to put a Christmas movie in here. I debated. I was like, wait, can we put Christmas movies in here? That was not like what I thought. But I actually really like this movie.
So cute.
It basically is about two people. They meet. We see many years of a Christmas party. Yes. And it's the group of people who meet up, they're friends. They've got mutual friends, a married couple. We also see the married couple evolve from their crappy apartment to a nice house to a baby. It goes through so many years. And of course, the main couple gets together, doesn't get together. They have other partners. And then finally, it ends with hey, we belong together. But just the whole journey. And you do see these characters evolve from these young 20-something or, mid-20s or whatever, goofballs, and they become sort of more sophisticated mid-30-something-year-olds or whatever. And it's just so cute. And I think they did such a great job with the budget they had and the limitations that they had in the filming. And it looks great, and it's really enjoyable if you like those type of movies.
I love this movie. We've had Christine Weatherup, the director, and she is the cousin that ends up being pregnant. She in the movie. We had her on the podcast. We had her as our guest for a patron watch along. We watched this movie, so if y'all you should check out the Patreon. It's really fun. But yeah, I felt like I kind of championed this movie. I probably would have included it on my list, but I knew that you had it on your list. So I was like, we'll talk about it. It'll be fine.
I kind of feel like nobody knows about it.
And I did everything I could to champion it. I got this emailed to me as just a regular critic, not as Hallmarkies. And most of the time those movies are terrible. We get a lot of times, so we get sent that as a critic. It's a lot. I don't even listen to a lot of them because there's just too many,
it's too many.
But I saw, Christmas rom-com. I'll check it out. And so I watched it. I was like, oh, this is so cute. I really enjoyed it.
Pleasantly surprised at it.
Yeah. Well done. Funny, insightful. Even little things I love her friend who's the cookie snob.
Oh my. So when they have to drive all over the place to get ice.
Yes.
They run out of ice.
Yeah. So it's a good one. If people haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think it's on Peacock, if I'm not mistaken.
It still is, yes.
Yeah. All right. My number 9 is where I have Strictly Ballroom. I feel like this is an institution at Sundance. This was, an iconic film from Sundance. It's really funny. It's really sweet. I love a dance movie. You've got, your nerdy girl who is becomes the secretly great dancer and the romance. And it's Baz Luhrmann. So it's got some of his over the top elements, but it's great.
Hey, he's got to do him, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I love that about Baz Luhrmann, so it's fine.
Yeah. So what do you have at 8?
I have Penelope.
Oh, that's a cute one.
Um,
Yeah.
I just love the premise. It's so ridiculous, but I love it. It's a
Yeah.
fantasy. It's kind of a fairy tale. It's Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
Her family's been cursed. She's got a pig face. She's got to break the curse by marrying somebody of her kind, which her
Mhm.
family interprets as a blue blood, a rich person, you know. But man, they say she died as an infant and they keep her locked up. She's a terrible family. Catherine
Yeah.
O'Hara plays her mom. She's great. Peter
Very
Dinklage
like
is in this.
Cinderella-esque.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then, you know, she's like, "Oh, I love you." And he's like, I like you
Cute.
too. And I don't care about your pig face, but guess what? I'm out because I'm double crossing you here." She becomes
Mhm.
infamous and it's what you expect. And
Yeah.
then the mean guy's father forces him to marry her. And of course, she had it within herself all the time to break that curse because she's got to love herself.
Mhm.
And if you like these whimsical fairy tales, uh, sort of type like that. Kind of, it's modern day, but it does have enough of that. Like, where exactly does this go? It's very whimsical, very, you know, I think it does that
Mhm.
trope very well. And it's
Yeah.
just
It's
adorable. I
cute.
love the cast
It's
and that
cute.
pig face. I mean, she didn't look that bad.
No,
That pig.
she really
But
didn't. My number 8 is Bride and Prejudice.
uh-huh.
And there's been so many terrible modern adaptations of Pride and Prejudice that you got to appreciate the good ones. This one is. And for Virgin River fans, they'll enjoy it. This is Martin Henderson in it, and it's got all the beats from Pride and Prejudice.
I still
But
haven't seen
they
this
it's a
one.
good like this is a good gateway to Bollywood.
Hmm.
Got some musical numbers, you've got some of those beats. It's not like true Bollywood, but it's dipping your toe if you want to kind of
I
uh
still have to see this one, I know.
oh really?
I have
Yeah,
not seen this one. This one has escaped me, and I was like, I
yeah.
must see it.
Yeah, it's really
I
good.
plan to. I plan
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Yeah, we're planning on doing a modern Jane Austen.
Yeah, so it's definitely on the list.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
this
watch
one
that.
is available on Hoopla and Pluto, so you can all
Right. And
watch it.
also on the Roku channel, I believe, if you have the
Oh, okay.
Roku.
Yeah.
So those movies are free if
Hmm.
you have the Roku and the Roku channel.
So what do you have at 7?
I have Simply Irresistible.
Okay. Yeah.
The what well, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Patrick Flannery. This is also takes a fantasy sort of
Hmm.
twist where Sarah Michelle Gellar, she inherits this restaurant from her mom and she's cooking. It's failing. She's a terrible cook. And she's just exasperated. She wants to continue it in her mother's name. She's like she for her mother too. She doesn't know why she sucks. She tries so hard. One day she goes, you know, she's out shopping, food shopping, and she meets this guy who's like, "Oh, I know who your mom was. Here, buy these crabs. It'll change your life." And you're like, "Okay, is this guy magic or is the crabs magic?" Because you have one crab that sneaks out, you know, from death. He escapes from the death and he sits to in the time she takes him everywhere in the kitchen. But apparently she starts cooking her feelings. So Sean Patrick Flannery, he's basically I think he manages this sort of mega store, kind of like not a mall, but like a yeah, it reminds me of like one of the mall stores. And he's opening a restaurant in there. And he's going with his girlfriend and he bumps into Sarah Michelle Gellar and you know they have got that meet cute, but he goes to a restaurant and behind who's driving the cab that takes him and his girlfriend, but the guy who sold the crabs to her. And so she's so upset that the first dinner that everybody loves, she bakes in like anger and fear and his girlfriend dumps him and she starts breaking all the dishes and he's so mellow, like this is great. I think I love the chef. And so he hires her. She makes his pastries that his boss falls in love with another woman with. And basically, it's what you'd expect. She cooks this grand meal. She's sad at first because everybody's treating her like so badly when she's cooking for this restaurant opening. And so the first course dinner, everybody is crying, you know, and then there's, of course, magically, there's like a fog machine where they can dance. And it's just,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
whimsical.
Yeah.
I didn't do a good job explaining it. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I'm all
I
over
haven't
the
seen this
place.
one for a long, long, long
Yeah, I was all
time.
over the place. I apologize.
No,
But
I remember enjoying it. I remember enjoying it.
yeah, it's just really cute. I
Yeah.
remembered it at the last minute,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, my number 7 is where I have What If? And this is called the F Word. in England, so people might know it that way. If somebody asked me what's an underrated rom-com, this is one I often will push on people because I feel like people haven't seen it, they don't know about it, and it's so cute. And it's friends to lovers kind of thing. Daniel Radcliffe and Zoe Kazan, they're friends who they just always sort of miss the window of dating each other, so they're just sort of friends, like and but he's always been really interested in her, but again, she's always either dating somebody or he happens to be dating somebody or whatever over the years. And Megan Park is in this, Adam Driver is in it, Mackenzie Davis is in it, so it's got a really good supporting cast, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I haven't seen this one. I've only seen this one once, so I didn't feel confident to put it in my list, but it was cute.
Yeah. All right, what do you have at 6?
Oh, a movie that I know you hate, Destination Wedding.
Oh, yeah, I do hate this movie.
Yeah, I know you hate it. It has Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. They're basically the whole entire movie. It's just them. I don't know what it is about this movie because they are just two miserable,
they are
annoying
awful.
people. I mean, that's the whole point. They are awful. She's going to her ex's wedding. She's still bitter about all that breakup. And he's the brother of the ex, the half brother. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because they're both complaining. He's like, "Didn't you sue my brother?" You know, and it's just like, "Yes, I won." They both work in industries that they hate. I mean, they're such opposites. And then, of course, naturally, because they're such terrible people, they're seated next to each other at all the events because the family already knows. I just love it. I mean, it's so bizarre, the conversations. Yeah, my father stabbed me, and all this stuff, and they hook up, and I don't know. They're very charming together. I love the two of them together, and there's something in this movie just delights me. I've seen it so many times now, and I don't know. It's just, I love how awful people can find love too, Rachel.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it was not for me, but hey, that's the great thing about movies. Okay, my number 6 is one that I was like, is it a rom-com? It's pretty sad, so I don't know, whatever. But it's wonderful. It's mostly Martha. I have at number 6, and if people want the American version, they can watch No Reservations. It's pretty much exactly the same movie, but this I just, it's so good. If you love cooking movies, it's about these two chefs, and she really resents him for coming in, taking over her restaurant, but they have to kind of work together, and of course they get to know each other and fall in love, and she's also all of a sudden raising her niece, and it does have some sad parts, so it's borderline, but two super charismatic, wonderful actors, and you've never wanted to eat a bowl of pasta more in your life than the bowl that he makes for the little girl when she finally eats. Yeah. Oh, it looks so good. All the food in this movie looks amazing, and especially that bowl of pasta. It looks so good. It's great and definitely underappreciated. I think it is a Criterion, though. I'm pretty sure it's on.
I've only seen the American remake. The food didn't look that appealing in that one, but I do like the movie. I thought the movie was very charming.
It's cute. Yeah, it's cute, but gotta go with the OG. Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Elise Murray and her exciting book, Society Girl. Set in the mysterious world of Oxford University's secret societies, Society Girl follows Sam, a duke's estranged daughter, as she attempts to join the most famous club of them all, the Animos Society. Her final initiation challenge is simple: find a man, convince him she's in love with him, and then break his heart in humiliating fashion. Hardened by her father's rejections, believing that the Animos Society is her key to his love and acceptance, Sam throws herself into making Daniel Best, her father's chauffeur and local musician, fall for her. But she never counted on falling in love with him right back. Fans of Colleen Hoover, Anna Hong, and Mia Sheridan will love Society Girl, a sweeping romance from best-selling novelist and screenwriter Elise Murray. Free for Kindle Unlimited users for a limited time. Go to elisemurray.com/novels/Society Girl for more information. Or you can use the affiliate link below. So what do you have at 5?
I have Sing Street at 5.
Yeah.
I don't think I love this movie as much as everyone else does, but it's just sweet. It's sweet because it's also a coming in age movie, but like this kid, his life is not really falling apart, but his life is changing. His parents are arguing, they're going to get separated. He has to start a new school. You know, they have to struggle to make ends meet. It's set in the 80s in Ireland, so it wasn't a great time financially. And he's like, "Oh, this girl is cute. I have a band. We're gonna shoot a music video. You're a model. You be in it." And he's just goes out and he's like, "Hey, you know anybody who could, play in a band?" They form a band just because he wants to get the girl in the music video so he can hang out with her. And that's classic rom-com. It's really cute. The music is great too. Um, there's a lot of relatable things too. Like finding your style. Dealing with bullies.
And it got and I will never forgive the Academy for not only not nominating any of the songs, but for nominating Sting for his chair song. He had a song about a chair, and that got nominated above any of the songs at 6th Street. I
can't remember that. I know Sting's
the biggest snub of all time. If you
That's
ask
not
me.
the Cold Mountain song. No, Cold Mountain's before 2016. I can't remember what chair song
it was from a documentary. It was this song about a chair. It was literally.
I have no memory of this.
It was. I mean, that nobody remembers it except for me because I'm so bad. Me and John Carney, the only one that probably remembers.
I am a Sting fan. I do not remember this song.
Yeah, it's
by the way. You want to feel old?
It literally is about a chair. And
Rich,
it got nominated. Yeah.
You want to feel old? I'm talking to 20-something person. Go, man, this song is great. And I was like, oh, it's by Sting. I don't know who he is. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know who Sting is? I almost fell on the street.
I mean, I love me some Sting, but come on.
Boy, I was white. That shook me to the core. But yeah, I have no memory of that song. Yeah, they have I guess it's Drive It Like You Stole It is probably the most memorable, right?
Yeah. I mean, it got snubbed completely by the Academy, not because it wasn't a worthy film, but because it was like one of the last movies produced by Harvey Weinstein, and so it just got kind of lost in them. Even though I don't think he did hardly anything, whatever.
I know it's just a name on these movies.
Yeah, but it was enough to kind of spoil as far as its awards run. Yeah. But I still,
it's sweet. Yeah, it's totally sweet.
And it also got kind of overshadowed by La La Land. As far as musicals that year, and certainly the one I prefer over.
Totally, they die at the end, right, Rachel? Because there's no way they're surviving that, right?
La La Land.
No, in Sing Street.
Oh, in Sing Street.
I recently watched that. I was like, I think this is gonna make my cut. And at the end of that movie, not being spoiled, I'm like, yeah, they ain't making it
on that boat.
Of course, I had to be like a bummer at the end, such a sweet ending, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna die.
I mean, if it was any other director but John Carney, he's like the most optimistic guy in the world.
Right, so they live happily. And me, I'm like, I couldn't take that ending as they're going to live happily ever after. I'm like, oh, they're going to
die. Well, my number 5 is Where I Have Midnight in Paris. And I debated about this movie, not because I don't love it, which I absolutely do, but I'm like, is it a romance? It's because it's about him kind of falling out of love with this person, and then he has he ends up with somebody at the end. So I was like, I guess it kind of is. And then he meets the Marion Cotillard character, and there's sort of an infatuation. Whatever. I don't care. I just wanted to talk about it. I absolutely love this movie.
I don't like this movie. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
I think I might need to give it another rewatch, though.
I love it. It's my favorite Woody Allen film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really
mine is Radio Days.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen all of his movies, but this is my favorite. I just love the idea of looking back at the past and thinking, oh, they had it perfect back then. And idolizing. He idolizes the writers and the artists, the filmmakers, all that stuff from like the 30s and 20s and 30s, and he has this just really romantic idea of the past, and then he gets a chance to actually go back to the 1920s and experience all of that, and he realizes, and what's so interesting is the Marion Cotillard character has that same view of like the 1880s people, like of the Victorians and their that Renaissance, and oh, if only we were like then. And so I love that. I think that's like an interesting thought bubble that the movie has, and I think it's genuinely really funny. Like, I think that Michael Sheen is hilarious in this as the like pedantic professor guy.
I will say though that clearly he's in a bad relationship at the start of this movie, so we don't feel too bad about it.
No, yeah, like he's just kind of settled for this relationship, and because he just thinks that he can't have anything as good as what they had in the past, and he's this writer, and he's like a really good writer. What I mean by that is that he does a good job of portraying a writer, I think, and or especially a writer with block, and all the supporting performances are so good. With somebody like Kathy Bates and Adrian Brody and just the whole, everybody is so fun playing all these historical characters, and Tom Hiddleston.
I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah. And I gave it a 5 stars. I love it. I think it's great, but
I do think I have to rewatch this one to reappraise it.
I just like I said, I just love that whole thing of how often do we think, oh, if only they had it good back in, particular
because we
time,
romanticize the past.
We romanticize the past, or we only look at sort of the good things about an era. And we only, in the flip side of that is we only see maybe the negative stuff, the social media and the cynical, stuff about our era, and just like so that's why it's so interesting when Marion Cotillard's character is doing the exact same thing that he's doing about the 1880s, and he's like, oh my gosh, you thought they were cool? You're so cool. So I love it. So what do you have at 4?
I have Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I do enjoy a time loop movie.
Yeah.
And I thought the first half of this movie is super strong. I think they kind of lose the track a bit in the later half of the movie, because it starts off so strong. We never see how this guy got stuck in a time loop. We do see how she gets stuck in a time loop, but him, we just take his word that he's been doing this for who knows how long he's been stuck in there. But at the beginning of the movie, you just think he's a sad sack of a person going through something. And in reality, it's not. It's because he's been stuck in a time loop for probably a century at this point.
Yeah.
And I love it because when J.K. Simmons comes out of nowhere to shoot arrows at him, that is such a wild moment. It catches you off guard. It's hysterical. But then the movie forgets about him for long periods of time. So it's not perfect, but
yeah.
I mean, if you want to see like a quirky time loop romance, unfortunately, the last half is just a little too sappy and too in the weeds. But man, there's a lot of greatness in this movie too.
I do really like this movie, but I wish it didn't have some of those R-rated elements. I don't know. I
get it. It's not for everybody.
I'm not like offended or anything, but I just feel like it sort of hurts the tone a little bit for me.
Right.
But I do really like it. So it's a good pick. My number 4 is Before Sunrise. And I could put this whole trilogy. The third one isn't really a rom-com. That one's pretty intense.
I don't even consider these movies rom-coms. Maybe that's on me. I don't view them that way. I don't know. Well, I think I view them as just romance movies.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that for this, particularly this first one, before like any real conflict in the relationship is introduced, then I think this one is pretty rom-com.
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah,
the banter back and forth, so I can understand not including it because it's not like a laugh riot by any means, but I think it counts. But
yeah.
Nevertheless, the banter feels so natural. It's like these two people are really meeting each other and just talking and getting to know each other, and you really like both these people, and so you can kind of relate to these sort of young idealistic people that think they have the world figured out. And you just, I don't know, who can't relate to Jesse and Celine?
Right. And such a wonderful that we get to see them twice more at different eras of their life and different ages. It's a great. People watch these movies. They're great.
Yes.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
No, they're not, because I think we just came up to the 9-year or whatever of or we just came up to the anniversary of Before Midnight, but I do wish we kind of could get them every so often. But
I would love a fourth one. I don't know if they'll ever do it, or if we really do need. I don't think we need one, but I would love it.
I would love it. I would love it. But yeah, what do you have at 3?
I have a recent movie, Rye Lane. It's a British movie.
Really
you can
cute.
find it on a Hulu. It's adorable. It's so great. It's so funny. It's
I thought about I thought about this one.
Yeah.
It is really cute and well filmed. There's some artistry. You get a real indie feel to it.
And what a unique meet cute. It starts off, they're in the bathroom. He's crying because his woman has left him for his best friend. They were in a lengthy relationship. Yeah. And she's like hearing him cry in the bathroom, and he's like, I want to be alone. It's a unisex bathroom. It's so uncomfortable. And then when she sees him later at the art, at this art where you're just seeing mouths in the art, she recognizes them by his shoes, and they have an incredible one-day adventure, which
it's kind of similar to Before Sunrise in a way.
Yes, very much so, right?
Yeah.
But
more outright comedy.
Totally. The cast is hysterical. She's like, she crashes his meeting with his ex-girlfriend and his best friend, and then he helps her get a record back by breaking into her ex-boyfriend's. Yeah. It's what you'd expect from like just a funny rom-com that.
It's really cute, and I love the whole thing.
Cute.
If you don't wave at ships, you're a bad person.
Oh, I mean, that's 100% correct, I think.
It is absolutely true.
Real meaning there.
Yeah. Well, my number 3 is where I have My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Normally, these kind of family shenanigans movies are not my favorite. We know that. We talked about that a lot with Christmas things. But this is the one that did it right. And normally, wedding movies are my favorite. So the fact I love this one so much is saying something. Their chemistry is just off the charts, incredible, and it is just so genuinely funny. That when her Aunt Fula is talking about her mole that she had removed from the spinal column, and
it was my twin,
ridiculous, and when they're like, oh, the bundt cake, and it's
the fantastic,
and I also love the reason why this works and a lot of wedding movies don't for me is that they are just committed to doing whatever it takes to getting married and being happy.
Totally. There's no outside conflict outside of that.
Yeah. And even like, she's like, oh, I'll wear that dress. I'll get baptized. He's like, I'll get baptized if I have to. I'll do whatever it takes.
That's
as
great.
Opposed to these movies where you have people throwing a hissy fit over something that in the grand scheme of things just does not matter at all. And so that's where a lot of wedding movies lose me, is that it's like you're treating people that you supposedly love just absolutely terrible, and over something like wedding favors. Who cares, about and I get it, you want to have a nice wedding, I understand, but I just love the fact that she's like, this is the invitation, okay, whatever.
That's the joy of it. He is an outsider coming into this family who's it's a culture shock, but he's like, yeah, I love your daughter, I'm gonna make it work. And it's just an embracing so the crazy. Yeah, it's so romantic. I mean, it's great about that.
Yeah. All right. What do you have at? Did I skip you?
No,
Or
we're going
three?
into 2 now.
Which do you
No,
have for?
Rye
Oh, you
Lane
had
was
Rye
my
Lane. You had
4.
Ryan. Okay,
So,
what do you have for 2?
The Big Sick.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's cute, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my number 2 is Where I Have Juno.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this movie. I think it's so funny, it's so witty, it's I got such great characters. It's a favorite of mine. So yeah, I have it at 2. I love the soundtrack. It's got a lot of indie bops
Yeah.
and yeah, so
I can't remember the screenwriter's name.
Diablo Cody.
Right, she won an Oscar for this movie, but
Yes.
she's written some really great stuff since then too.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. All right. What do you have at number 1?
Number 1 is Where I Have My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
A movie that came out of nowhere,
Right.
a really big surprise, and stayed in theaters forever. And it was
Yeah.
word of mouth that it became so popular.
Mm-hmm.
And it spawned, every couple of years we get another installment of the movie, and I don't hate them.
Yeah.
But so it's a nice look into this world, into this family.
Yeah. I agree. I absolutely love it. And I think it's one of the most successful movies like ever as far as profit.
Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
ever. Yeah. Well, my number 1 is Where I Have Sing Street. I absolutely love this movie. I saw it at Sundance, and I think it was the first time that I was like, I love this festival. This is amazing. You can see movies like this. And I even love the ending. I know it's cheesy, them driving at this boat off into this, the sunset, going to London. I'm with it. I'm 100%. I'm like, yes, I love the relationship between the 2 brothers. I think
that's such a good relationship, and I feel so bad for the
authentic.
oldest brother.
Yes, because he never chased his dream, but he's watching and he's kind of jealous of his brother who is chasing the dream.
Yeah.
But then he's also
so supportive as well.
Yeah, and so it's really, really, really great that I love everything about that, and I love all the songs, and that he's like forming this band he wants to ask this model out, this girl, and well, do you want to be in my music video? Well, it's set in the 80s, yeah. You want to be in my music video to my band? And what band? I don't have a band. It's one of my favorite films.
I mean, kudos to him. He was like, I'm going to get this band because this girl is going to come film our video. Yeah. He's determined.
Yeah. And I love John
Carney.
It
changed his life.
I could have put almost any of his films in here in this category. I just love him as a filmmaker, and he's totally gets me. But this is my favorite. And so there we go. That's my number 12. And so we asked our patrons. What they thought. We got a couple answers. Alicia Lomez Gross says, I won't quibble about whether some are truly rom-coms. My faves of the ones I've seen on the short list, and we'll have the short list if anybody wants to give their favorites or to make a video or post, just tag us. We'd love to hear. But she says, What If, Sing Street, Juno, Rye Lane, Enough Said, Amelie, which was it was close for me. Mystic Pizza, Destination Wedding, Muriel's Wedding. And Becky Schober says, The Big Sick, one of my favorite movies of all time. I also adore Mystic Pizza, For Weddings and Funeral, and Muriel's Wedding. Muriel's Wedding, that was high for me as well.
Yeah, but I couldn't put it on the end of the list for me because it's more of a friendship movie.
Yeah.
Unless there's a rom-com, maybe, if you want to see it like that.
Yeah, that's true. Amber Sire says, I don't know if these count, but I like Dating Amber and Lars and the Real Girl. So
Lars and the Real Girl, though. Don't get me started on that one.
I haven't seen either of those. So there we go.
I haven't seen the other one, but Lars is an interesting watch, and I'm like, how is any of this possible? But anyway.
So there we go. I had a ton of honorable mentions. Amelie, Last Chance Harvey. There are a couple that I really love, but I didn't think were strong enough as far as romances. I love Spontaneous, Juliet Naked, and The Worst Person in the World. So I had a long list of honorable mentions, but you can check out the short list and definitely check out the Patreon if you want to be a part of these episodes and just supporting the podcast. We sure appreciate it. And this was a lot of fun. So I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope you get a chance to check out the Sundance Film Festival. They do have an online component still, a virtual component, and quite a few actually available. So if you're interested, I would check it out. There's quite a bit that you can watch, even if you can't be boots on the ground here in Salt Lake and Park City. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Terry. And where can people find you if they want to follow you?
At Twitter at Flurry Heaven.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you want to make sure you're following all of that, get all of my updates on everything that I watch. My goal is to beat my record of 25 films is the most I've ever done at Sundance. And my goal is to beat it. So there's going to be a lot of reviews regardless.
Rachel never sleeps.
Well, and yeah, and this year at Sundance, so many of the screenings start at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm like, I'm going to die. But whatever. So make sure you're following and follow the podcast, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us so much. 5 stars. And if you are watching and listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, as we mentioned. That's so much fun. Great chance to support the podcast and participate in all kinds of fun experiences and be part of these ranking episodes. So we also have the merch store. We can get tons of fun designs, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.